What is that background, Jody?
That is you and me, John McMullen. This is Birds 365, a first for us today. A Birds 365 after an Eagle win, seeing as they went 0-2-1 in preseason, and this game matters that much more. It's good to be on with all you Eagle fans. This is Birds 365. I got Jeff Kerr as my co-host today because John McMullen is not left Atlanta yet. He'll be flying back to Philadelphia today, but he joins us to start the show as a guest. That wasn't a bad debut for Nick Sirianni at all, was it, Mr. McMullen?
No, man. I don't know how it could have went better. That was my first question to Nick Sirianni. Unless you're expecting perfection, which is never going to happen in the NFL. I mean, literally, it couldn't have went better. It really couldn't. You really got to nitpick to find problems. The run support on defense early was an issue, but that got fixed pretty quickly. Too many penalties, but I mean, that's the NFL early in the season. I think there were 5 on the offensive line in the first half. But again, you really got to nitpick to find anything negative in this game. And I think we can officially put the toe tag on the preseason. It is absolutely meaningless. Absolutely meaningless.
John, I know before I went on the post-game show last night, you gave the game ball to Jalen Hurts. I did too, by the way. So I just
that was an easy one. I wanted to give it to Aaron Cepas only because nobody paid attention because it didn't matter, but he was phenomenal in his NFL debut. But nobody cares about the punter. But Jalen Hurts did, and I wanted to give part of it to Nick Sirianni as well because, one coach, it was the hot candidate of this cycle, and it was the guy on the other side. And one coach had a guy who's made the Pro Bowl 5 times, and the other coach had a guy in his 5th start, and the other coach clowns the flavor of the month. There's no other way to explain it. He embarrassed them. Now, they have more talent, but that was pitiful from Atlanta's perspective.
It was, and it was a beatdown of epic proportions when all was said and done. Yes, the Eagles got out a little slow. I tweeted out the Eagles were very lucky to be up 7-6 after the Falcons' second possession because they were moving the ball up and down the field. I want to give Sirianni a lot of credit too, but I want to make sure that Jonathan Gannon is not left out of the credit mix as well. We do use this word all the time in the NFL, adjustments. Was it just that the Eagles needed to tweak a couple of things, John? Because the first couple of possessions, if the Falcons didn't shoot themselves in the foot with some penalties, the Eagles could have been behind the 8 ball early. But damn if they didn't shut the Falcons down from there on out. What did Gannon tweak and or change that changed the defense from being porous to downright stonewall?
Yeah, I don't know if he changed that much because he was being pretty multiple on the first couple drives as well. The Eagles just weren't tackling well. I think that was a big part of it, and they maybe that was back to the preseason that we talk about not playing all that much. So I think they sharpened up a little bit as the game went on. But then I think the circumstance of the game, once it becomes a 2-score game, it changes everything, and you can load up on the run. And the most bizarre thing from Atlanta, from the Falcons' perspective, was that first drive. I mean, the Eagles couldn't do anything with Calvin Ridley. We talk about the running game, but I think he was 3 of 3 on targets. And then I'm sitting there at halftime, and I looked at a few of the writers, and I'm like, did Ridley get hurt? Did I miss it? They just stopped going to him. So you see this a lot with coaches in this league. They script. That's a little bit overblown, but if everything goes perfectly, they script the first 15 plays. And then once you get off that script, they just forget. And they I don't know how another way to describe it, but by the time you got back to it, the game was over. And yeah, I mean, the Eagles did, as I said, there were 2 teams in the NFL, and Jody, you know this, last year that didn't score 30 points, and it was the Jets and the Eagles. Game 1, over 30 points. Jonathan Gannon, I'll tell you what, if you average 260 yards or whatever it is on defense, you're going to have the number one ranked defense in the NFL. And if you give up 6 points in a game, you're going to have the number one ranked scoring defense. So I don't know how it could have went better. Maybe New Orleans, that type of atmosphere. But other than the Saints, I mean, they were arguably the most impressive team in week one.
John, one thing I noticed in this game, I thought Kyle Pitts was going to become a huge problem for them. What did Jonathan Gannon do after those first two series? Because he was pretty much just a non-factor at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of that was it just, I talk about rookies all the time. You got to, I mean, as talented as you are, you got to get used to it. And he seemed a little bit overwhelmed, at least early. I'm not sure it was the Eagles as much as Kyle just had a difficult time in his first NFL game. And he's not the first. And Devonta Smith on the other side of the coin was just fine. So that was a big positive for the Eagles as well. I just think he looked a little bit, I don't want to say nervous. I don't know what word you want to use, but I just think he was out of sorts more than anything else. And I the one thing I got right is that I said I didn't like the spot. I picked the Falcons in the game. But I did say Pitts probably won't be what he is later in the season. And he wasn't. And hopefully for the Falcons, he can settle down. But yeah, he did not play well. Wasn't really a factor at all.
And let me come to the defense of one of the Eagles who, as you mentioned, John, you really got to nitpick to find things wrong with the Eagles, but everybody does, and all their columns have the winners and losers after the game. And this guy got a couple of loser votes, and that was Avonte Maddox. I think he got Pitts on most coverages all day long. All right, yeah, he missed a couple tackles. Not going to look past that. So that's why he ended up on the loser column. But if Pitts didn't make plays, yeah, you can write it off till he looked like a rookie, or the coverage wasn't that bad. And Avonte Maddox has given up about 1.5 feet to Pitts. I actually thought Avonte Maddox did not play badly yesterday, although he did come under a couple of media critics' eye as a guy who didn't have the best of games. I would give him a passing grade for his first effort and give him some credit for keeping Pitts under wraps.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's part of that. I was one of those that pointed out Avonte because of the tackling issues, but it is nitpicking. You got to find something if you're trying. I mean, I probably should have thrown Eric Wilson in there as well, at least early. And that's just one I would put a little asterisk next to, especially with San Francisco coming in this week, because the one thing I come out of this game questioning is the Eagles' run defense, and really more of the linebackers than anything else. And, San Francisco is known for years. I mean, they have the most complicated rushing scheme in the NFL. They have one of the best. Kyle Shanahan does it probably better than anybody else. So that's going to be a big test. So just put an early note on that. But, yeah, I mean, Avonte, the Eagles were going to throw a bunch of different looks at Kyle Pitts, and they did. And Avonte's part of it. And it's not that he played poorly. To me, it's a little bit disappointing because he's such a good athlete, especially when he's in open field tackles. I think he should do a better job. But hopefully that's just the preseason. September is the new August, blah, blah, blah. Hopefully, as they ramp up to it in a couple of weeks, that gets cleaned up a little bit.
John, switching to the offensive side of the ball, we want to talk about rookies. I thought Devonta Smith had a tremendous debut for a player making his first career start. Matched Deshaun Jackson's record for catches. He's the only player in Eagles franchise history that had 5 catches and a touchdown in his debut. What were your thoughts on Devonta Smith's performance?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was great. I thought Nick's game plan was great. I thought, he got the football. He made things easy for Jalen Hurts. I thought it was a perfect example of taking advantage of the strengths of the players you have. He's brought a college offense to the pro level. And I always tell Jody, it's not trickle down in this industry, it's trickle up. And he looked at Jalen Hurts and Devonta and Jalen Reagor and Quez Watkins and said, okay, what do these guys do well? And he went back to their college tape, and that's what he's doing. And from Hurts' perspective, that was probably one of the deepest throws he had in the game was the touchdown pass, other than the Zach Ertz play, which is a little bit underthrown, to be honest. And Devonta went off the line of scrimmage, and it was a great throw. But you can sense the confidence growing because of the quick hitches, the bubble screens to start the game, just getting them in a rhythm. And we talked all off season, 52%, 52%, 52%. Week 1, 77%. Now, it's not like Jalen is, again, throwing it 25 yards down the field, but you can see how it breeds confidence. Those quick, easy completions, and then when you got to throw it down the field, you just feel better about yourself. Yes. I can't say enough good things about Nick Sirianni this morning. I want to say bad things, but I can't.
Sirianni and Hurts, they go hand in hand, of course, and the thing that impressed me the most about Sirianni was the drive at the end of the first half. A perfect test. You get the ball back, less than 2 minutes to go. You've got your timeouts. You got 70 yards to go. Can you stick the ball in the end? Can you at least get a field goal? No, they got it all the way down, stuck the ball in the end. Even after losing a touchdown on that Lane Johnson downfield penalty, which was accurate. They gave you a great replay on it. Lane just kind of got caught to have to score twice to get the points before half. It's the quarterback, it's the coach, it's the play calling, it's the time management, which we like to second guess a lot here in town. He checked every single box. Between the two of them, they both did with that touchdown before the half, and I felt very good going out for my halftime cigarette saying, damn, the Birds look good.
Yeah, they did. And then the second half was just complete domination. But that was really, once they extended the lead from 7-6, and that was the touchdown, that really, Atlanta was dead in the water at that point, whether we knew it or not. And then they got, obviously, because of the penalty, they got the 2-point conversion as well. So that was a smart decision to go for that. Once that happened, I don't know. You guys probably saw it better than me. It looked like Dallas, that ball might have hit the turf. I don't know, but
couldn't tell from the replay. Couldn't tell. It may have, but you couldn't see it, so they called it a touchdown.
So they
couldn't overturn it.
That's one where it's good. You're not the Sunday night game, so you're taking advantage. You don't have as many angles, but hey, it worked out for them, and it ended up being a great drive. I think it was 12 plays, so it wasn't just the last play, and that was a tight window throw, one where maybe you said maybe don't try to fit that in there, and it ended up working well. So everything came up roses for this team, and now we're going to see, and Jalen Hurts talks about this a lot because when he goes back, he always talks about rat poison. He goes back to Alabama with Nick Saban, and he always points out people assume that's negative stuff. In Alabama, it's positive stuff as well, because everybody's telling those guys how great they are all the time, how they beat up on everybody every week, which is true. And Saban tells them, don't listen to that either, because if the Eagles are going to listen to all the accolades and how great they are, they're not going to be ready for San Francisco. So it's another impressive thing about the quarterback is same guy after a big blowout win, 77%, everything great, same guy.
John, that throw from Jalen Hurts to Dallas Goedert, I thought outside of Patrick Mahomes, that was the second best throw by any quarterback in the league yesterday. Was that the best throw Jalen Hurts has ever made?
It might be. It's tight. It kind of, because I think the most, I look at it in a different way, Jeff, because I think the most impressive part of all the statistics in Jalen Hurts and third guy, that crazy number you see going around, third guy in history, 250 yards, 70+%, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 60 yards rushing. I don't care about other than to say there's not a lot of guys that can do that if they're clicking on all cylinders. So that's more important to me. But I think the one thing about Jalen Hurts that was the best of all was his decision making. So I look at it different. Was that the best decision? It worked, but do you want to try to fit that football in there? Sometimes it's not going to work. So it depends how you look at it. If you want to, I'm trying to nitpick and come up with some negatives.
That's okay. You don't have to do that, John. If we're pushing you to that, we're not trying. But here's what I liked about Jalen's decision-making yesterday. And he did something that is going to be part of his success in the NFL if he's going to be a successful NFL quarterback. And damn, he sure looked like one yesterday. He makes plays with his legs. Some are scripted on RPOs and other improvised when he drops back into the pocket and it's not there. What I liked yesterday was he did most of his running down the sidelines. And, John, you and I talk enough about Jalen, the fact that he's a power lifter and he looks more like a fullback than a scat back if he's doing his running. And you'd be tempted when you've got that kind of strength to drop a shoulder and turn it upfield and get the extra yard. Yesterday, he scampered out of bounds a couple times. And he said, I'm going to get what I'm going to get, but I'm not going to get touched. And that's what you need to have with your quarterback because you need him on the field. People worry about Devonta Smith because of his frame. I worry more about Jalen Hurts because of his frame because I fear he might try and get those extra yards and end up hurting himself. Didn't yesterday, took what he could get down the sidelines and then got the hell out of bounds. I thought that was a very important part of Jalen's very successful yesterday.
Yeah, and that's part of that decision making. Even the fourth down they didn't convert where he was kind of flush and right and realized at the last minute, well, this is going nowhere, but I'm not going to lose 10, whatever it would have been, 10, 15 yards on top of it. And threw it out of bounds at the last second. It's always fun when you see a young quarterback, making the right decisions because that's when you get in trouble, when you make bad decisions. You didn't see a lot of bad decisions from Jalen Hurts yesterday, and that, to me, is the most impressive part of the entire performance.
John, one matchup I was really excited to see was the Eagles' defensive line versus the Falcons' offensive line. And boy, did the Eagles' defensive line put a hurting on Matt Ryan that second half.
Yeah, the second half, the Sharks were circling. I mean, they couldn't do anything. And once you take the running game out of it, that especially that interior wasn't going to hold up. And it was interesting. I mean, Javon Hargrave, I talked about it all summer, had a great summer in training camp. And he got 2 sacks, and Hassan Ridgeway got the other sack. Wasn't the guys you would expect, but yeah, when they dominate, and that's, guys, quarterbacks hate the pass rush up the middle. I mean, they hate any pass rush, but when it comes right in their face, that's when they really, really get uncomfortable. That's how Tom Brady lost 2 Super Bowls to the Giants. He only lost 3. He lost the other 2 because of the pressure up the middle, period. That's how the Giants beat him. It's probably the most important aspect of stopping a good quarterback. And, yeah, the Eagles made Matt Ryan very, very uncomfortable in that second half. I don't know what it is about the Falcons, though. When they get in the red zone, they can't score. They change coaches. Julio Jones isn't there. They can't score in the red zone. It's amazing.
Yesterday, they took a couple of ill-opportune penalties, and that's another thing to give the Eagles credit for. Eagles took their fair share of penalties, too. They overcame them. The Falcons did not. Whenever they take a penalty, they'd end up paying for it, not be able to convert on third down, have to settle for field goals or punt the ball away. One other note on the defensive line for me. I know he didn't get a sack, and yes, that's what defensive ends are supposed to do, get sacks. But I thought Josh Sweat played a heck of a game yesterday. He was, for large stages of the game, the Eagles' best tackler. Early on when the Falcons were moving the ball, both the linebackers and the secondary weren't doing a great job tackling. Josh Sweat was. I thought he played great throughout the game. He got slightly more snaps than Derek Barnett did. I think there's a differentiation between the two. I think Sweat has certainly proved he's the better of the two if they're going to be shuttling back and forth. You think Gannon will just keep it as is, pretty much a 50-50 split going forward?
I mean, you want to rotate those guys, and I think now you don't know the snap counts came out this morning, so it's a blowout, so late probably affected it a little bit, and I'll have to go over the film to see how it shook out. But if you look, even Ryan Kerrigan, it was. So if you look at the defensive ends, I'm just looking at it. I think Sweat led with 39, Graham at 36, Kerrigan 34, Barnett 33. I mean that's as even as you get. I think part of that though was, it wasn't a close game at the end. I think the test is going to be when you're in a one-score game, who's out there in the end. When you need to stop, who's out there. And then we'll know who JG is going to lean on. I don't know. When you look at these snap counts today, I don't know how much you can take from them because of the circumstance of the second half.
John, Quez Watkins, I think it was three plays, 3 targets, 3 catches, and then he kind of, I don't want to say he disappeared, but was that more of JJ Arcega-Whiteside just taking his snaps at 11 personnel because he was blocking so well?
Yeah, I think it was funny. JJ started, and we're all going, what the heck is going on here? And then we see it's a bubble screen, and JJ can block, which is, he can block, and good. It's not what you want of your second-round pick a couple of years ago, but that's where they are with JJ. But it's just another example of Nick Sirianni taking advantage of what he has, and that's what JJ does well. So let's let him block, and we'll see. I mean, Nick talked all off season, all summer about he thought he would have a competitive advantage early in the season. Turns out he did, but now it's on film, so we're going to see, how quickly to do opposing defenses adjust. If they see JJ on the field, are they going to know bubble screen? If you see 19, so you have to. That's the test. Like, what is Nick Sirianni going to do when people know, okay, this is what's coming, and that's going to be the interesting part of it.
Speaking of blocks on a bubble screen,
yeah,
Jordan Mailata against a defensive back is just not fair. That's not fair. That was as big a crushing blow as you saw in the National Football League. All 15 games combined over the weekend. That was just scary good. A well-called, designed, and then executed play by Jordan Mailata, who got paid over the weekend. Johnny Mac, you and I talked about it all year leading up to game number 1 about Howie Roseman always likes to find one guy that he targets and signals out as the eagle of the future and get a deal done before the season gets underway to lock that guy up. He hadn't done it till Saturday, and he did it with Jordan Mailata. And I know they were ribbing him pretty good in the locker room about Mr. Money because he got his contract done. He answered the bell here in week number 1. I was surprised that it went right up until right before the first game started. They picked the right guy to extend?
Well, it is their, organizational philosophy. We talk about it a lot. I mean, they just value the offensive line, defensive line more than, say, tight end. So when we look at Mailata versus Dallas Goedert for interest, as an indication, I mean, it makes sense that they defaulted to the offensive line first. But I think they wanted to get a deal done with Dallas Goedert. So I don't necessarily think it's only that. I think Dallas knows he can kind of cash in if he has a decent season. I'm just guessing, but his agents are probably telling him to bet on himself. And Jordan, for as big as it looks, I mean, that's going to be a bargain. People don't understand. I mean, that is a team-friendly deal. So if the Eagles could have gotten a team-friendly deal done with Dallas Goedert, I think that would happen as well. And then it's going to be interesting to see Sweat versus Barnett. Can you sign both of them? I would think they want to sign Sweat. But you have some injury concerns in there that complicates it a little bit more because of what happened to him in high school. But anytime they have good offensive linemen, good defensive linemen, I always think about when Jordan has those highlight blocks, because he's got these. I always think about Jeff Stoutland, because those are the types of blocks that have our buddies, Ross Tucker and Baldy putting Jordan in the Hall of Fame, and he has the best highlight blocks. And then you go back to Jeff Stoutland, who's so gruff, and he's like, just got to be more consistent. And he's always, and that's why they turns out, these great offensive linemen, because, to him, it's about play to play. It's not about highlights.
So John, now I got to ask you, what happens to Andre Dillard? I'm not talking about like this year, but what do the Eagles do with this guy?
Well, he's going to have to change positions if he wants to stay here. And I don't see that happening. So, I mean, he could trade it. Jeff, you and I talk about this a lot. I mean, there are so many teams who need offensive line help. They could spin them off in any minute, certainly by the trade deadline. If somebody gets desperate at some point for a tackle. Ultimately, I don't think he can change positions. So I don't think you're going to be talking about him moving the right tackle as the heir apparent to Lane Johnson. And Lane's still playing at a high level. So, yeah, I think it's just a matter of time now. And, when can the Eagles trade him?
All right, I want to ask you about a guy who, kind of like Andre Dillard, got limited snaps yesterday. Andre on special teams was 5. Austin Scott got 12 snaps, all on special teams, not one from the line of scrimmage. We thought it was going to be a 3-man backfield for week 1. It was a 2-man backfield. Austin Scott did not get in and get 1 snap. What are we reading to that, J-Mac?
Just that Kenny Gainwell has proven to them that he should be the second guy, and he's going to play a lot, and he's going to play when Miles doesn't. And really, I think it was the Jets joint practices where they really tested him against the Jets, and they put him essentially as the third down back in the back in the hurry up and the high leverage situations as a pass catcher when he got to throw the football. And I think they were trying to figure out, okay, is he ready as a rookie to do this immediately? And they came to the conclusion he was, and he certainly played well yesterday. So it's not going to change in the foreseeable future unless obviously one of them can't play. But they still like Boston. It's just that they were ultimately going that direction. Kenny Gainwell, that's why they got him here. And the question is, when could they get there? They thought it was week 1, and he played well in week 1. Another thing that worked out.
So, John, I have to ask you this, too, about the injuries. Zach Ertz looked like, I think he came back in yesterday. Wasn't 100% sure. And Marcus Epps.
Yeah, Zach did come back in, so it was a hamstring. And that's, people are probably going to look at that. I don't know how that affected. Dallas played a little bit more than Zach, and they were about 60-40. 11 versus 12, which makes sense, right about where they typically are. But I don't know how much that affected things. Marcus went out early with the concussion, and he was the starter. He was going to play the majority of the time on defense, and I think eight snaps or so he got a concussion, and Kayvon Wallace came in and held down the fort, and it's just fine. I mean, they give up, the Falcons weren't able to take advantage of it. So you never want somebody to go down, but I think anytime you have a performance like that as a defense as a whole, gives everybody confidence.
John, did anyone after the game say Rodney McLeod's status? No, he wasn't up for the game, and we debated all week as to whether he was going to play or not. We surely thought he's going to make the first 2 games, because if he's only coming back for 1, and you could have put him on short-term IR if he missed 3. So signs kind of point to next week. Anyone give further confirmation on that? They kind of need him now with the Epps injury.
Yeah, no, not yeah, that's not typically an after the game question because they ruled him out Friday. So we'll get into Rodney's status on Wednesday. I mean, he's going to continue to practice. The question is, you're right. I mean, by what they did, the indication of what they did, they think he's going to be back before the first 6 games, not necessarily before the first 3, because while you can, put somebody on injured reserve after you carry them on the 53, remember, it would have to be a new injury. It can't be the same injury that you have to activate them off PUP. So they couldn't have used the ACL excuse for the 3-game short-term injured reserve. So really it means
Johnny, we can all get around that, right?
Well, yeah, they could do, but they are a little bit tougher on those types of shenanigans now. So I do think it's legitimate. So I think the real my only point is the real the bar is the 5th game more than the 2nd game.
John,
or it actually would be the 4th game. I'm getting in the weeds now.
John, yesterday I tweeted this is the big play Slay the Eagles paid for. I thought he was good last year, but I didn't think he was Darius big play Slay. Was yesterday his best game as an Eagle?
Yeah, I think Darius played pretty well last year. Like, I'm a little bit easier on cornerbacks than most people. I'm usually harsher on people. It's so hard to play corner in this league. I don't think there are lockdown corners. So once you get that reputation, Stephon Gilmore's probably an example of this. He wins Defensive Player of the Year. Jalen Ramsey as well. He's the best corner in football. And then they just take nosedives and people say, what's going on with these guys? It's just impossible to play corner in the NFL. If you're playing a good quarterback and, things are clicking for that particular team on a game day, what do you do? What do you do? And I thought he played well, and he himself said he had 1.5 bad games. Green Bay, and I forget the really bad one. You probably remember, Jeff, but the DK Metcalf game.
Yeah, well, that was more DK than him.
Yeah. So he said he didn't play well against DK. He admitted that, and then a half against Green Bay. He thought he didn't play well. I thought he was the best corner the Eagles have had in years last year. So I think people were too harsh on him. He's just a good player, but he's going to get beat this year. So people don't think he's going to get beat. It's the NFL. And when Mahomes is here or Brady is here, he's going to get beat. I mean, get used to it. It happens. It happens to every corner in this league.
All right, my turn to nitpick. I'm not sure Darius Slay could tackle me. I know he could cover me, and he did a nice job in coverage yesterday. But if there's anybody in the NFL that reminds me of Deion Sanders, great at coverage, can't tackle air, it would be Darius Slay because he missed a couple badly yesterday early on.
That's kind of baked in with Darius. It's interesting because he thinks he's a great tackler. He doesn't know what people are talking about when they ask him about tackling. I guess it's part of the confidence. Yeah, you got to be confident to play corner in the NFL. So he thinks he's a great tackler, but yeah, he's not.
He's never been a great tackler.
No. I said he thinks. He thinks.
Yeah, he can think whatever he wants. And my other nitpick, John, before we let you run, love the fact that Nick Sirianni picked up where Doug Peterson left off, aggressively going for it on 4th down. Did it twice yesterday.
Yeah, they didn't do it.
Gainwell between the tackles on 4th and 2. Really? I love his aggressiveness, but his first call not only didn't it excite me, it left me scratching my head. I guess he thought no one expected it, but the Falcons were up to the challenge. He's got to get Doug's old playbook back out for 4th down conversions.
Yeah, I think he was trying to surprise him on the Gainwell run. That's, it's a hit and miss. My nitpick on the 4th down was he got the plays in too late. So maybe that was the one rookie hiccup. It seemed like they were rushing. They were getting in the plays too late early, and they were rushing to the line of scrimmage, and maybe that kind of wonkied up what they were trying to execute. But yeah, I mean, I think it's positive that he went for it. But yeah, when you don't get it, it doesn't look positive. But you talk to all the analytics people, and that's what you should do, and blah blah blah. So it's nice that he did it, and it didn't really hurt the Eagles. So yeah, we'll be nitpicking that in the future if it doesn't work and it hurts.
Didn't hurt him at all yesterday. Jalen Hurts was the only Hurts that mattered yesterday for the Philadelphia Eagles. J-Mac, safe trip home. We'll get you back here tomorrow, brother.
All right, thanks, guys.
John McMullen, usual co-host of Birds 365, went down to cover the game in Atlanta, flying back today. So he hops on as a guest to start the show. And we got Jeff Curran instead. Jeff and I will come back, continue to break down the Eagles' impressive opening game victory over the Falcons here next on Birds 365.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the memories. Go for the view that goes on forever. Go for the bubbles in your bathtub and in your drink. Go to bed whenever you want. Or don't. Go for him. Go for her. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass. Free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit. The glass is for cocktails, right?
It's for this, 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 and that.
Is the length of the glass equal to your...
You betcha.
But is it made out of...
Glass?
Yeah, okay, but is the rip...
Smooth?
Will you stop doing...
That?
I'm the professional here.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. One free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. All from the company that's highly awarded. 0 carbs, 0 sugar, and deliciously tasting vodka. So good, it just disappears.
The live post-game show is powered by IBEW Local 98.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messa & Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messa & Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
This is your Birds 365 winning recap. On Monday morning after an Eagles victory gets the season rolling, they go down to Atlanta and like Sherman go through the Falcons. An easy victory and a debut win for Nick Sirianni. Jeff Kerr and Jody McDonald here with you on Birds 365. We do have to continue to talk about Nick Sirianni because I'll be truthful, Jeff. As big a Sirianni fan as I've been, and from the day he was hired, a lot of people made a big deal about his first media conference. As a matter of fact, Brandon Graham mentioned that yesterday, that Nick has, off the record, said a couple of times, yeah, he was really upset with the way people ripped him up and down for his first media press conference. But he turned it around and made it a challenge for himself. All right, like I tell my players, got to be better. Keep it in the rearview mirror. Got to have a short-term memory. I got to go out and do better, which, oh, by the way, yes, he's been very entertaining and somewhat insightful. He's pretty good at keeping things under his hat and playing his cards close to the vest, but certainly has picked it up after that first press conference that he gave. The one thing I didn't know about Nick Sirianni, I liked the guy, and I liked his enthusiasm, and I liked his attitude. I had no idea if he was going to be a good play caller. And again, it's one game, but damn, did he push all the right buttons yesterday, using his rookie quarterback to his strengths, or his second-year quarterback, his rookie wide receiver, and Devonta Smith. Kenny Gainwell, first time ever, scores a touchdown. He just did everything right offensively as a play caller yesterday. I had no idea that was going to be the case. I wasn't betting on him being god-awful or great, but he came down on the great side, and I was very impressed.
Yeah, Jerry, the old adage I have is, and especially in this town, if you botch the opening press conference, aka you can't speak or you speak too much, then you're probably a really good coach. Chip Kelly crushed the press conference and was a terrible coach. So that's how I always determine coaches in this. Andy Reid I remember his introductory press conference was terrible, but I digress. Yeah, I couldn't believe everything Nick Sirianni was doing. And I'll tell you what, I thought the most impressive thing he did was, as soon as he got to 15-6, he ran the ball, and he just kept running the ball. He kept trying to kill time off, giving his defense a rest. It didn't matter, Really, I think the only time he was forced to throw it was on 3rd and 9, and Jalen Hurts completed the pass anyway and moved the chains. But overall, he was getting very good third and manageable situations. He was using Jalen Hurts' legs, Miles Sanders, Kenny Gainwell. I love the way he used Sanders yesterday. Love the idea of the bubble screens, the hurry-up offense, up-tempo. And I thought him and Arthur Smith were going to go into a shootout after the first 3 possessions, the 2 Falcons possessions and the Eagles possession, because the way they were going up-tempo. And then Arthur Smith just kind of hiccuped or just stopped. He's like, oh, I don't have Ryan Tannehill. I don't have Derrick Henry anymore. What do I do? Nick Sirianni just used what he had and made the best out of it. I think that game really did change when that 2-minute drill that we mentioned to McMullen earlier. And, just the throws Hurts was making, and most of that was Hurts up with his legs. And then he made the throw to Goddard. And I think Nick Sirianni went in the halftime and said, you know what? We're up 15-6. I got one of the best offensive lines in football. I'm just going to pound it down their throats. And he did.
And I thought Miles Sanders had an outstanding game. There was one run in the first half where I thought there was a hole there, and he tried to bounce it outside, and he got caught for a loss, which I thought was a bad decision. But other than that, kind of like Sirianni and Hurts, he made all the right moves. Every time to make a decision, to make a cut one way or the other, he made the right decision except for the one early. And then he's got that breakaway speed, the big play, the chunk play that he made showed that he has that big play capability. Gainwell played well, and I was surprised that they didn't use Boston Scott at all. But this team's success is going to depend a lot on how well Miles Sanders played, and he was just one of several Eagle offensive players that had a very big first day for me.
So I was laughing after the game. I was thinking, was Boston Scott hurt? Because I didn't even know he was even in the game. I didn't even see him on special teams because I'm writing stuff up for the game for CBS. And then I'm like, wait a minute. What happened to him? And, and then I realized, Miles Sanders was playing incredible, catching passes and doing the things that everybody was getting on him and he can't do. I thought he got a little dance happy at one point. It led to a 6-yard loss. But like you said, Jody, after that, he was pretty much brilliant. And then Kenny Gainwell, I don't blame Kenny Gainwell for getting stopped on 4th and 2. I blame Nick Sirianni for that. He was trying to outsmart everybody and be like, okay, Kenny Gainwell, let's put him in. I guess they were trying to trick him or something. I don't know. I think when it's 4th and 2, you should have your best back on the field, and Miles Sanders is clearly that. But, Nick Sirianni learned because the next fourth down he had Sanders in, and he just ran up the middle and got the first down. And, that's one thing I really liked about Sirianni, the adjustments yesterday. But, yeah, I'll tell you what, Miles Sanders on that screen pass, that Jason Kelce block, that really set up a drive there. And I just thought Sanders looked as crisp as he ever did. I got to see how many touches he officially ended up with, but I really thought the Eagles did a good job at using him in the second half. And I'll tell you what, if Sanders and Gainwell could give them that type of production every week, they're going to win the division.
Well, they are in sole possession of first place in the division right now because we know the Cowboys went down, although they did look very good on offense on Thursday night against Tampa. The Washington football team, not only did it lose yesterday, it may have lost its quarterback for a lengthy period of time. Fitzmagic with a hip issue, which I know you already wrote a story for CBS on, correct?
Yeah, I did. I was able to kind of tap into Ron Rivera's press conference yesterday, and yeah, it didn't sound good. And from what Ian Rappaport reported this morning, it looks like it's at least going to be multiple weeks, maybe even his season. And that was the big question with the Washington football team this year. Can Ryan Fitzpatrick stay healthy for 17 games? You know, because he was going to be their QB1, and they found out in the second quarter, no. So they were smart to sign Taylor Heineke. He is going to start for them. Logan Thomas is big on Taylor Heineke, and really their offense moved the ball pretty well against, in my opinion, an underrated Chargers defense. I mean, they only scored 16 points, but they gave them a pretty good game. I know they were at home. It was on the East Coast, but if I'm Washington, I'm a little upset Fitzpatrick's hurt, but they're going to need a quarterback long-term anyway, and Heineke provides them mobility with his legs. He's not the answer, obviously. He's not. But this is a team that their defense played really well against Justin Herbert and a really good Chargers offense yesterday. They're still going to be alive in the NFC East race, but I thought Ryan Fitzpatrick was going to be the guy to get them a top 15 offense. I don't see that anymore.
Yeah, not happening. So you know what's going to happen. The rumors are going to start that the Washington football team is going to have interest in Cam Newton because Ron Rivera, of course, was Cam's quarterback in Carolina for all those years. I'll say the same thing I said about Cam Newton from the day he was released by the Patriots. If he's better than the guy you have and you want to bring him in as the starter, okay, go ahead, do it. If you're bringing him in as a backup or someone you're going to decide on and you're going to have to see if your guy's not good enough, it's a mistake. Because you're only going to cause division within the ranks. Either bring Cam in and hand him the job, or you don't bring Cam in at all. I don't think Rivera's going there. I think they're going to stick with Heineke and Allen. I don't think they're going to open up that door to you.
I don't think they're going to either. And I kind of look at this like when Randall Cunningham signed with the Vikings in 1997. Yeah, he was retired for a year. Yeah, he looked bad when his career with the Eagles ended. But he was still Randall Cunningham. He still had the arm. He still had the flashes, even at 35. And the second Brad Johnson got injured, it was the Randall show, and Randall basically ran the show for a year and a half until he ended up getting hurt. And then I don't know why the Vikings, Denny Green decided to go with Jeff George for as long as he did, but it always felt like that, you know, and I think that's why Donovan McNabb ultimately didn't last when he lost his job as a starting quarterback in Minnesota for good, because it was like, okay, do we really want to sign this guy, even though he's 33, 34, probably still should be playing football? Well, the minute your young quarterback goes bad, you're going to say, put in Donovan, or, you know, whoever it is. You know, unfortunately, that's the situation with Cam Newton. And I agree with you, Jody. If you want to bring him in, and if you want to start him, you think he's better than Taylor Heineke, go right ahead. But they signed Taylor Heineke to a 2-year, I think it was $7 million deal. They prepared for this. They prepared for Ryan Fitzpatrick to miss football games this season. And it looks like he may miss the whole year. And, you know, maybe you open the Pandora's box of Cam Newton if Taylor Heineke struggles. But you got a game Thursday. Taylor Heineke's going to be the quarterback. He's going to play in week 3, too. Maybe a team like the Eagles sees Cam Newton in December, but they're not going to see him now. I don't even think he's an option now. So if I'm Cam Newton, I'm still sitting on the couch. I'm waiting to see what Heineke does. But Ron Rivera's a big believer in Taylor Heineke.
And, oh, by the way, the Washington football team is not the only other team in the division that has a quarterback issue. Watch plenty of the Giants game after the Eagle game was over and done with. I take a lot of flack when I do shows in New York when I say Daniel Jones is not the future quarterback of the New York Giants. He's not a franchise guy who's going to lead you anywhere. Yesterday, the same problem that Jones has had since he took over as the starting quarterback of the Giants reared his ugly head. He coughed the football up in a big spot on a fumble. He's had more fumbles for any quarterback over the last 2 years in the National Football League. The Giants were one of those teams. There's going to be several teams this year who are going to look back and say, should we have taken a quarterback in the draft this past year? They chose not to. They traded down. They allowed the Chicago Bears to take Justin Fields. Now, the Giants might have a bad enough record that they can go into the draft this upcoming year and draft their next quarterback. they're going to need to because Daniel Jones just isn't the guy. So you got two teams in the division with the Eagles right now that have major questions at quarterback, Washington football team and the Giants.
I was telling anybody who was willing to listen to me about the New York Giants. Everybody was hyping them up, hyping up their defense, the culture Joe Judge was brewing. That's all well and good. You don't have a quarterback and you don't have an offensive line. They're going to finish last in the NFC East, Jody. And I think yesterday, I know it's a week one overreaction, but they look bad. And I know Denver has a really good defense. They're an underrated football team in general. They just don't get the love because they're in a division with the Kansas City Chiefs, the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Las Vegas Raiders. But Teddy Bridgewater, I don't even think he's that great of a quarterback, but he did his job yesterday. He was a really good game manager against the defense that really wore down in that second half. But the Giants' offensive line was terrible. As you said, Daniel Jones, when that game was close, fumbled at a big spot. Only Tony Banks has more fumbles in that many career games to start a career than Daniel Jones. So that tells me all I need to know about him. I don't think he's the long-term answer early either. I don't know. Giants fans are blaming Jason Garrett. They're saying Jason Garrett should be fired. And yeah, they're right to an extent, but it's not Jason Garrett. It's your head coach. It is your offensive line. It is your quarterback. You know, Saquon Barkley was on the field yesterday. I didn't even notice he was there. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, why even play him? Why not just save him for Thursday Night Football if you wanted to go that route? They are just an absolute mess of an organization, and people cannot read into it. They can't understand. The New York Jets, in my opinion, are in a better situation than New York Giants right now.
No, and the Jets yesterday got beat too, so bad day all around for New York. They wanted to get Saquon out there. He came out of the game healthy, so that doesn't bother me that he played. Wasn't all that effective, but he did play. No, they lost the game. I said this before the game, and that was actually one of my picks that I got right over the weekend. By the way, 5-0 over the weekend, pro picks, NFL picks, and I got under on the Monday night pending for a 6-0 sweep of my picks. I thought that was going to be a low-scoring game, the Broncos and the Giants. The 41.5 under was the smallest under in the NFL this week, and it did come in under, as I correctly predicted. I thought they have two of the best secondaries in all of football. The Broncos absolutely do, and they added to it with their first-round draft pick, kind of much to the Eagles' chagrin, but that's okay because Devonta Smith is now an Eagle, and everyone thought the Eagles were taking a corner, and Denver beat them to it. But I still do like the Giants' secondary. I think they got two really good corners and two outstanding safeties. Teddy Bridgewater threw for 275 yards. Teddy Bridgewater. Their defense let them down yesterday as much as their offense. That was a total loss. If you try and pin it on one side of the ball or the other or the one individual, and I'd say Daniel Jones is at the top of that list, but no, that was a team loss. The way the Eagles win yesterday was a team win. The Giants loss was a team loss.
Oh, yeah, and Denver controlled the time of possession, too. That's what happened to the Giants' defense. They wore down, and you saw that Melvin Gordon touchdown run. It was Melvin Gordon doesn't do that. He does not go for 75 yards on the touchdown, but him and the rookie, Javonte Williams, they just gas it up. I'll tell you what, I know he's a friend of mine, but Dalton Reiser had a tremendous game against that Giants front. I was amazed. The Giants couldn't get a pass rush going. Leonard Williams looked mortal for the first time since he got traded to the Giants. I don't know. I don't even know if this Denver team is going to be better than we think. I mean, there was a lot of talk this offseason that they got Aaron Rodgers, they would be a Super Bowl team, and I don't know how true that is. But Denver dominated in the trenches. They wore that team down. I thought that was Vic Fangio's best game as a head coach to date, and Denver finally won a September game under Vic Fangio. They were 0-7. They just put themselves behind the 8 ball every single year, and they went to New York and they kicked the crap out of them.
So it is sole possession of first place for the Eagles because the Cowboys lost, the Giants lost, the Washington football team lost. The only thing stranger than that, Eagles in sole possession of first place, is the Houston Texans in sole possession of first place in the AFC South. Nobody saw that one coming, but they beat Jacksonville. Carson Wentz, how'd that work out? His debut in Indianapolis.
I'll tell you what. So I was watching 2 games yesterday. I was watching the Colts game and it wasn't for Carson Wentz, and honestly because I love Russell Wilson. So that was the reason I was watching the game. But Carson Wentz did a Carson Wentz thing yesterday, Jody. Fumbled the football. on the quarterback center exchange on 4th and 1 when the game was close, and that was the end of it. And, Carson, his first pass to the Colts was incomplete, completed 10 straight passes. He looked really good. I like how Frank Reich was using him, but then the Colts offensive line just got manhandled. And Wentz took a lot of shots in that second half yesterday. He got beat up, and, he was like, I think he had a stretcher. He was like 5'11" for like 49 yards, and I can't even blame that on him. But Carson Wentz did the Carson Wentz thing yesterday. 59 career fumbles and or what is it? 69 fumbles in 59 games or something like that. I forget the exact number, but it's Carson Wentz 59 fumbles in 69 games. That's what it is. But Carson Wentz fumbled the football on the crucial 4th and 1 and did not get a quarterback sneak on the one play he knows how to do. The Colts are banged up on the offensive line. Their defense got absolutely torched by Russell Wilson, by Tyler Lockett, by DK Metcalf, Chris Carson. Now, outside of Chris Carson fumble, the Seahawks looked every bit. We want to talk about division, Jody. The NFC West, every team 1-0. They are the first division to do that since the AFC North in 2015. But the Colts, I think they're going to get healthy, but those first 5 games are absolutely brutal. But Eagles fans, be happy, because Carson Wentz played every single offensive snap.
He played all, that's 100% of the snaps in game number 1. So it worked out well for the Eagles as far as that future first-round draft pick goes. All right, he's Jeff Kerr. I'm Jody McDonald. We are your Birds 365 guys. We'll come back at a little bit more Eagle perspective. Our guest for hour number 2 is going to be our buddy, Bob Groats from the Delco Times, who we had on a couple times before the year started, and he did. Not only did he say it, he doubled down on it, that, the Eagles could be 0-8 out of the gate, that their start of the season schedule is pretty damn tricky. I told him when I asked him, come on last week, I said, Bob, you won't have to go there because the Eagles are going to be 1-0. He said, if they are, I'll give them credit. If not, I might stick with my 0-8. We'll get Bob up hour number 2. Come back, give you that much more on the Birds' impressive win to open the season here on Birds 365.
Hey, Eagles fans, if you're a subscriber to the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, you are already registered to win a pair of season tickets for the upcoming season. That's right, you could win a pair of season tickets for the upcoming 2021 season just for being a subscriber. If you're watching and you're not a subscriber, do it now. Subscribe to the JAKIB Media YouTube channel right now. What do you need to do? Subscribe right now.
As a hard-working American, you've never experienced how tough life can be until now. A catastrophic injury while working on the job. A personal injury from someone else's negligence. Turned away by other law firms in the region who didn't bother to learn your story. It's time to meet the Fritz & Bianculli Law Firm and managing partner Brian Fritz. Badly injured? Call the Fritz & Bianculli Law Firm. Find out why they say, we got this.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. Doc and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at IBEW98.org.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull Beef Jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
but as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
As long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
7 on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Jeff Kerr and Jody McDonald with your Birds 365 guys today. Johnny Mac was down in Atlanta covering the game, so he's flying back today. So we got Jeff Kerr sitting in for him. If you missed him, he was on at the top of the show and did a good job giving us his insights to the Birds' dynamite win in Atlanta to get the season underway. You can always go back and watch it after the fact here on the Birds 365 JAKIB Media YouTube channel. JK and Bob Groats is going to join us coming up in less than 10 minutes, as a matter of fact. Bob's got to hop on early. He's got a doctor's appointment. Maybe he needs to take his foot out of his mouth by the doctor after he suggested the Eagles could go 0-8. But we kid because we care, Bob. Jeff, with the way that the Eagles called plays yesterday, Nick Sirianni rightfully and should get all the credit, but the guy who executed it was Jalen Hurts. Not going to go too far overboard that the Eagles now have their quarterback for the next decade. But if we said it once, we said it 1,000 times this offseason about this being a prove-it year for Jalen Hurts. Pretty good first step for a guy who's trying to win a job for the next 10 years, was it not?
I'm not betting against Jalen Hurts on anything. I've been a fan of Jalen Hurts for a long time, and yesterday was pretty much what I expected. I wanted the completion percentage to go up. Yeah, Jalen Hurts' career completion percentage went from 52% to 57%, just because of how well he played yesterday. 77% completion percentage. That's insane for any quarterback in this league. And, he was crisp, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 60 rushing yards again. He always seems to get 60 rushing yards. The guy just is very instinctive when it comes to football. And I got to give the guy a ton of credit. It just seems like when the lights come on, Jalen Hurts knows how to play. And this city is going to be in love with Jalen Hurts for a very long time if he keeps doing stuff like he does, because this offense moves the ball. They even did last year. As dormant as this team was on the offensive side of the ball and Doug Pearson's play call, Jalen Hurts injected life into this football team, and he's still continuing to do it.
And the funny thing about it was that at least during the preseason, the reports that John would come on every single day was that Jalen Hurts looked really good throwing the ball deep. That was one of his strong suits, was that he could air it out. When he put air under the ball, he had great accuracy going downfield, that it was the short and intermediate stuff that was questionable. Well, yesterday he didn't really throw the ball deep. The one ball that he threw over 25, 30 yards, he kind of blatantly underthrew Zach Ertz, and Ertz made a nice play to come back, get the ball, kind of catch it. He didn't actually catch it, but the Eagles rushed up to the line of scrimmage, got the next play off, so they didn't have a chance to review it. No, his strength yesterday was the quick hitters, the short passes, the ones where the accuracy need to be point on. He basically flipped the script on what he did during the preseason. The plays that were most questionable for him off last season and this preseason actually turned out to be what he did best yesterday.
You got to give credit to Shane Steichen there. And Shane Steichen did this with Justin Herbert last year to get him into a motion before he unleashed him later in the year. But that's what Justin Herbert was early in his rookie season. It was just quick passes to Keenan Allen. You would take a deep shot to Mike Williams on occasion. But overall, it was, trying to think what the other one was. He would throw to a lot. Keenan Allen, there was Jalen Guyton caught a lot of deep passes last year, but they ran a lot of quick screens, a lot of just short routes to get this quarterback going. Austin Eckler was another one. He gave it to a lot early on, and it kind of looked like that a little bit. A little mix of what the Colts did, a little mix of what the Chargers did last year, and I got to give Shane Steichen a lot of credit. I got to give Nick Sirianni a lot of credit for that. They put their quarterback in the best possible position to win against a linebacking core that they weren't that great at tackling. And last year, the Falcons just weren't that. And the Eagles exposed that early, and that's why you saw a lot of yards after the catch with Wes Watkins, Devonta Smith, when he was able to get his hands on the football. Same with Dallas Goedert, a little bit with Zach Ertz. But yeah, this is what I will say to Jalen Hurts underthrowing Zach Ertz. I know this isn't I guess I could compare, but Patrick Mahomes technically underthrew Tyreek Hill on his incredible play yesterday. Of course, that one was about 35 more yards downfield, but yeah, I got to give Zach Ertz credit for running back and catching the football, but if that throw might have been a touchdown if it was on the money.
Yeah, if he had led him, there's a chance that he gets behind absolutely everybody. Again, nitpicking for the small things that Jalen Hurts might not have accomplished yesterday, but he did get everything else done. One more quickie, and then Bob Groats scheduled to join us. How much does Nick Sirianni get on his offensive line in practice when they return to the field tomorrow? Overall, great job, opened up lanes. Jalen Hurts almost untouched all day long. 5 offensive line penalties. The one drive where they scored a touchdown had to overcome 3 offensive line penalties, 2 on Sam Mallow, 1 on Lane Johnson. They almost shot themselves in the foot yesterday. They didn't. How tough is Sirianni? We know Statlin's going to be tough because he's always tough. Even when things go well, he's a nitpicker and he's a guy who's always wanting to learn and teach. How about Sirianni? How does he deal with his offensive line?
I'll give a shout out to my high school football coach, Dave Bedolis here. I don't think it's going to be the Dave Bedolis treatment where when we got 14 penalties on the offensive line, that was 14 big hills and 70 push-ups because 5 yards for each penalty. That's just how he did it. I don't think it's going to be like that, but it's definitely going to be something he's going to point out this week. And that's why I gave the Eagles an A- because of the 14 penalties. Everything else, they said they were perfect offensively, defensively, but 14 penalties is just unacceptable. You're not going to beat the San Francisco 49ers. You're not going to beat the Dallas Cowboys with that many penalties, or it's going to be that hard to do it because they're better football teams. But this is something the Eagles got to nip in the bud. They got to cut it at least in half by next week. It's just there were just some inexcusable penalties there, and maybe it was the first game of the year. Maybe it was the lack of preseason reps, although the offensive line did play a little bit more than everybody else did this preseason. But, yeah, overall, I just think it's something they have to clean up. I think Nick Sirianni will address it in his press conference today, and I think he'll address it this week. I think he'll get into their heads, and, again, he's a teacher, so I think he's going to correct that. And it's so far, if his teaching grades are in, pretty darn good. His students did quite well down in Atlanta with their season opening victory. All right, Bob Groats from the Delco Times scheduled to join us next right here on Birds 365.
Hey, Eagles fans, if you're a subscriber to the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, you are already registered to win a pair of season tickets for the upcoming season. That's right, you could win a pair of season tickets for the upcoming 2021 season just for being a subscriber. If you're watching and you're not a subscriber, do it now. Subscribe to the JAKIB Media YouTube channel right now. What do you need to do? Subscribe right now.
As a hard-working American, you've never experienced how tough life can be until now. A catastrophic injury while working on the job. A personal injury from someone else's negligence. Turned away by other law firms in the region who didn't bother to learn your story. It's time to meet the Fritz & Bianculli Law Firm and managing partner Brian Fritz. Badly injured? Call the Fritz & Bianculli Law Firm. Find out why they say, "We got this."
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. Doc and Krause every Saturday night from 6 to 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at IBEW98.org.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull Beef Jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
but as I always say,
It's okay to be afraid
as long as you face the fear.
and keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Birds 365 here on the day after the Eagles open up the season with a rather impressive win against the Atlanta Falcons down in Hotlanta. Good job by the Birds all around. Jeff Curran for Johnny Mack, and we are joined by our buddy Bob Groats, who seems to be in the car. No truth to the rumor that you're getting out of Dodge after that impressive Eagles win, is there, Mr. Groats?
No. What did they win by? I didn't get that final score.
Oh, whoa.
Pretty damn impressive, as a matter of fact.
Come on, man.
Come on, guys. That's one of the worst teams in the history of the NFL that they beat. They played well, but give me a break. I mean, they got more holes than the NFL's vaccine policy. Come on.
Oh, shot on goal, Falcons.
Falcons or the Jaguars? Who would win a football game right now?
Oh, I would say the Jaguars, because the Falcons just flat out quit yesterday. And you can lay some of that on the Eagles. I mean, for sure. They played well enough, so well, that other team quit. That's a bad start for Arthur Smith. You have to feel for him. That's not the way you want to start any season, where your guys give up. They knew they weren't going to win that game in the third quarter.
Yeah, Bob, one thing I want to point out, I got to at least defend you on this. I know you had them going 0-8, but I had the Texans going 1-16 too. So
hold it, Jeff. Hold it. I said if they lose the first game, they could go 0-8. All right?
So now what do you got them? Here's your chance.
Well, I don't think – it's hard to judge each week, but I don't see them beating the San Francisco 49ers. I don't know about how you guys feel about that, but that is a good team. It's not a great team, but it's a good team, and they got a lot of speed. The Falcons, it's night and day. And but Jalen Hurts, a ton of confidence, and he made all the right throws. And I'll tell you something, Jody and Jeff, what I really liked about that game was Sirianni's coaching. He and Jalen Hurts they're definitely exactly on the same page. They did a bunch of basic stuff, but they did it very well. Bubble screens, crossing routes. I was really impressed. The simplicity, the beauty of that offense was in its simplicity and execution. And you can't do it any better than that.
Bob, pointing out the fact that the opponent they beat yesterday might not be very good this year is
they can't tackle, Jody.
Is accurate and on point. But again, don't want to shortchange the Eagles because they did execute exactly what they wanted to do. There weren't that many plays where I go, oh my God, how open is that guy? That's a defensive breakdown. No, it was the fact that the Eagles executed what they wanted to do the way they wanted to do it. So while I'll agree overall, I'm not going to opt for Super Bowl tickets because they beat the Falcons, you do have to like the way the Eagles put their game plan in place and then pulled it off.
I'm with you right there on that. That throw that Hurts made to Devonta Smith for the first touchdown, Hurts was still he was still doing that pick, and it was a legal pick. He was still doing the pick when the ball was in the air. I mean, that stuff you see from Gronk and Tom Brady. That timing was just incredible. That really just floored me right there. And some of the other throws he made were good too. Really difficult throws, no, but Devonta Smith looked like he could get open all day. And oh, by the way, Kyle Pitts with the Falcons, that guy struggled to get open. I mean, the Eagles played some good defense, but Devonta Smith or Kyle Pitts, it's one game, but you know who I'm leaning towards, as the better player and going to have the better career.
I'll tell you what, Bob. One thing I noticed yesterday, just covering all the games in the league, Joe Burrow's 50-yard touchdown to Jamar Chase yesterday was the exact same play they used against Clemson in the national championship game, and they blew them out of the water. And, I think Tua Tagovailoa, the Jalen Waddle, it was the same route they ran in 2019 in Alabama. And I think we saw that with Jalen Hurts and Devonta Smith. This seems like, why Devonta Smith was a really good pick. These two are just clicking right away.
Yeah. And that when you just mentioned Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, his last 2 games at Mercedes-Benz Stadium have been brutal. I mean, the last 2 before this one. He lost to LSU with Oklahoma. I think it was 63-28. It was in the 20s, and Burrow threw 7 touchdown passes. And the game before that, Devonta Smith caught the winning pass in the championship game for Alabama, but the quarterback was Tua.
Tua, right, off the bench.
Hurts got benched at halftime. So he kind of exercised some demons there, too. I mean, that place, he had a history with that place, and it wasn't a good one.
No one brought that up either.
Didn't seem well. That's why we have Bob Groats on. He knows things like this on Birds 365. All right, let's flip it over to the other side of the ball, Bob, because I'll be honest. After the first 2 possessions, I was seriously concerned about the Eagle defense because the Falcons shredded them, went right down the field 2 consecutive times, kind of shot themselves in the foot with some untimely penalties and had to settle for field goals. But the Eagles weren't tackling. They weren't getting any pressure on Ryan. I thought it might end up being a long day, long afternoon for the Eagle defense. Damn, did that turn on a dime afterwards. I saw the great stat, I think Reuben Frank had it. First 3 possessions for the Falcons, like 170 yards on their first 3 possessions. Their next 7 possessions, under 80 yards. How do you make that good a defensive either change or adjustment? I don't know what Gannon did, but man, did that defense come to life.
Well, remember, that was a 7-6 game with 3 seconds left in the half. And then Goddard caught that pass. And I don't know about you, but that was close to being a drop. They would have gotten some points out of that. It could have been 9-7 instead of 15, or 9-6 instead of 15-6. But the Eagles, they gave up 100, I think it was 100 yards rushing at just the beginning of the second quarter. And that's not good. But let's be honest about Matt Ryan, too. When it comes to the Eagles and their red zone defense against him through the years, I mean, the veterans are still on that team that stopped him in the divisional round of the playoffs in 2017. And I think they had, three field goals against the Eagles in that game. Matt Ryan, when he gets in that red zone, the Eagles know he's not going to score. He's not mobile, and for whatever reason, you put a little bit of pressure on him down there, or you put a lot of pressure, he's just not going to find the guy. So they knew that after those first 2 trips where Atlanta was moving the ball, they knew that Matt Ryan wasn't going to beat him in the red zone. That's right where you want Matt Ryan if you're the Eagles defense. You want him in the red zone because he just struggles against them down there. They have a history with him. So after that touchdown with 2 seconds left, just really the 2-minute drill, that was just the backbreaker. So and that third quarter, and they're getting the ball back in the third quarter. If you're Atlanta, you're thinking, wow, we didn't play a bad first half. We struggled in the red zone. Maybe we didn't play bad, but the Eagles get a call, and now they get the ball in the third quarter to start the second half. This is too much.
Bob, I talked to Tony Gonzalez last week, and we were discussing Kyle Pitts at length, and he said this was the week to play Kyle Pitts because he was young. He's tight end, first game in the league, and they're relying on him to do too much, and he thought he'd struggle early in the season. And turned out Tony was right there. It just seemed like Kyle Pitts looked lost a lot of times in this football game.
Yeah, he really struggled to get open. I didn't see that. He must be a long strider. I didn't see that, that deep speed. And the Eagles got physical with him. I even noticed Devontae Maddox. He put his helmet on him a few times. They hit him. They let him know they were there. And he can't. I'd be surprised if he had another game like that right away. But Devonta Smith, the stuff he did was effortless. I mean, it just but you know what? we're going to see a different defense this week. It's going to have a little bit of a pass rush, and it also has guys in the secondary. There have been some injuries in the 49er secondary, but they got some guys that can cover too. This will be a more interesting test.
Bob, if I told you before the game started that Fletcher Cox was not going to show up on the score sheet, that he would not have a tackle in the game, yet the Eagles' defensive tackles were going to grade out pretty damn well.
Yeah,
would you have thought that I was drinking too much before the game?
Yeah, I certainly would. I was surprised by that. Fletcher got a bunch of double teams, and I think this is just me talking. If Jonathan Gannon wants to keep him interested in this season, he better run some stuff where Fletcher is one-on-one with somebody, however you have to do it. I think Seth Joyner was talking about that. You put somebody over the center so the center can't double team, and you're going to have to do something. I mean, he took a lot of doubles, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Even when they did their kick line routine after the sacks at the end, Fletcher could barely get his leg up in the air. I think he was winded. I really think he was winded from taking all. He played a lot of snaps too.
Bob, you mentioned the 49ers secondary. Jason Verrett's out for the season now, torn ACL. That guy just can't get a break. Mango Mosley has the knee injury. We're not sure if he's going to play this week. I know it's only Monday. They might bring Richard Sherman back, Josh Norman. He was terrible last year. He may start for them this week.
Yeah, he's done.
Yeah. Do you expect the Eagles to just kind of sling the football this week?
Yeah, but they got a pass rush, the 49ers, and you know, I'm not even familiar with the way that the successor to Robert Saleh is how he's gonna defend the Eagles. But they got there's a couple things going there. They didn't like the way they lost last year, and they were hitting with injuries everywhere. And you really have to factor in the offense too. The Falcons played an interesting game. That ball control, you keep the other team off the field. I think you're going to see a similar thing with the 49ers. Not that they feel like they have to keep the Eagles offense off the field, but that's kind of the way that they're equipped. That's how they're wired. So there's going to be fewer opportunities for Jalen Hurts to get into a rhythm. So he better take advantage of them right away.
And both Garoppolo and Trey Lance played yesterday. They went with the dueling quarterback, gave Trey Lance a little bit of a taste, and he actually threw the first touchdown pass of the year. So that's going to be a challenge for the Eagles as well. I know you're not going to be able to just dissect the 49er box score because I actually watched the end of that game. It got a little interesting after the 49ers were up by 3 touchdowns. They did let the Lions back into the game, one of them on a onside kick, which you just don't get many of those that are successful in the NFL. They did have one yesterday. But that 49er defense, either they took their foot off the throat of the Lions or it might not be as good as it was last year.
Yeah, I think probably right now their offense is their best defense. So, and Jeff mentioned those injuries too. That can catch up to you, but that's still like the Eagles game, first game. So this will be fun to watch and see what happens. But I really like what Nick Sirianni did. He had a really basic, good plan, and he got the guys to buy in. My favorite part of the news conferences was listening to Brandon Graham and talking about what Nick Sirianni had said to them during the week. And again, before the game, he said that he was really mad about, the first press conference, how everybody ripped him, which I thought was that first press conference was one for the ages. It was just really out there. But Nick told his players about that, and he asked them to help make it right, and talk about using every little tool you have at your disposal. I mean, so this guy, and I got to say something else too. Just looking at a coach, I mean, I know he's 40, and it's hard for me to believe somebody can be 40 and be a head coach because I'm an old head now. But to watch him walk into that stadium, they showed him on video walking in with a backpack on. I've never seen that, Jody. Not in my whole career as a sports writer. have I seen a head coach come in. It's usually a briefcase, maybe a sport coat, a real businessy look. But this guy walks in with a backpack. He's got his sunglasses, right there, stuck in the front of his shirt. I mean, it was just he looked like he was going to go surfing or something. So, I mean, that was really laid back, and the players reflected it too. I don't know what the dress code is, but it certainly isn't business casual.
I like the fact that Sirianni was true to his nature and was going to get ready for his first game the way he got ready for all of his games. As a coach, more power to him. The big question I have, Bob, and maybe you can shed some light to this, it looks like he's got his hockey playoff beard going. It seems like it's growing a little bit, and he did get a big win here in the first week. Are we going to see Grizzly Adams like Nick Sirianni before game 2 against the 49ers?
No, I don't know about that, Jody, but you are going to start seeing him share that handshake he has. It looks like a Phillies home run handshake, all those different things Bryce Harper and his guys have. I think you're going to see him sharing that with other guys too. They're going to want part of that. The one that he did yesterday with Jalen Hurts, and he talked about connecting and stuff. He's done it. I mean, it's one game, but he's connected, and he said yesterday that when you connect, it makes everything, the locker room celebrations, everything feel a little bit better. So for 1 week at least, they're feeling a little bit better.
Yeah, Bob. When I talked to Jalen Hurts, been 2 weeks now, but I asked him about not exactly the relationship with Nick Sirianni, but like behind the scenes stuff, the competitions he does and the stuff he does with his guys in the locker room. And Hurts just kind of laughed at me and said, "I'll tell you what, I'll tell you about this stuff after the season." And I'm like, all right. So it does seem like there's some sort of code there for let's not expose the head coach too much.
Yeah, it's definitely different. Doug Peterson was a player's coach, but in a much different way. So I remember him giving, if somebody if a kicker made like a 52-yard field goal at practice, everybody was done for the rest of practice. They're all standing around cheering on the kicker. Different strokes, different folks, but he's definitely got the attention of this team. And there's 16 more to go. It's hard, it's hard to just to even say that after the first game. There's 16 to go. It's a long season. So we'll see how it shakes out. We'll see how they do the rest of September. It's a tough schedule.
It is the biggest season in the history of the National Football League. That's how they promote it because, they added one more game. Get that, ESPN. Get that, NFL Network. Kind of overstated, but I digress. Last thing, Bob, what's it going to be like down at the Link next week? Last year, you were there for all the games, partial crowds at best. I give them credit. They were loud for only being 1/4 full, but it will be filled to the rim next week off a very impressive Eagle victory. How much of a lift can the crowd give the Birds when they come home next Sunday against San Francisco?
Yeah, if they score right away, it'll be like that Vikings game in the playoffs when Patrick Robinson returned the interception for a touchdown. That'll make a difference. And we know this. We've seen Eagles games. Those fans are good for at least 2 false starts a game on the opposition. So that'll help. But the defense is going to need that. I think. There's still Matt Ryan when they could run the ball. He still found some holes in that secondary. So I think Jimmy Garoppolo. For all the criticism he gets, he's pretty good. He had a bad game in the Super Bowl, which is not a good time to show up there. But he's still pretty good. And Trey Lance, I having to prepare for 2 quarterbacks. That's a little bit of a curveball for Jonathan Gannon, I would think.
Eagle fans be chomping at the bit to get back at him at the Link next week, as will Bob Groats. Bob, thanks for hopping on. Appreciate it, bud. We'll hit you plenty during the season, and we'll see how tough the schedule gets from here. We all agree it's going to get tougher. Don't know if it's not another win till they get to the Lions a little bit later on in the season, but they got a W early. Thanks, buddy.
All right. See you guys.
That is Bob Groats from the Delco Times here with us on Birds 365. All right, Jeff Kerr in for Johnny Mack today with me, Jody Mack. We still got a half an hour to continue to give credit where credit is due to the 1-0 Philadelphia Eagles after their opening game win against the Atlanta Falcons. Coming back here on Birds 365 next.
Hey, Eagles fans, if you're a subscriber to the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, you are already registered to win a pair of season tickets for the upcoming season. That's right, you could win a pair of season tickets for the upcoming 2021 season just for being a subscriber. If you're watching and you're not a subscriber, do it now. Subscribe to the JAKIB Media YouTube channel right now. What do you need to do? Subscribe right now.
As a hard-working American, you've never experienced how tough life can be until now. A catastrophic injury while working on the job. A personal injury from someone else's negligence. Turned away by other law firms in the region who didn't bother to learn your story. It's time to meet the Fritz & Bianculli Law Firm and managing partner Brian Fritz. Badly injured? Call the Fritz & Bianculli Law Firm. Find out why they say, "We got this."
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. Doc and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at IBEW98.org.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull beef jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
It's Birds 365, victorious one. Our first time on a Monday after an Eagles win. We started the show about 5 months ago here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. And yes, they had 3 preseason games this year. And yes, the Eagles didn't win any of them. They were 0-2-1 with the infamous tie against the Jets. This, of course, the most important game of the 4 that the Eagles played here in 2021, the only one that counts, regular season. An impressive win against the Falcons down in Atlanta. JK, Jeff Curran for John McMullen. A lot of things could impress you with what the Birds did. Was there one that you would rate above all others that stuck out to you, or was the thing that you're going to carry going forward and saying, if this stays, man, that bodes well for the Eagles for the 2021 season?
Yeah, Jerry, I think I mentioned this a little earlier too. My biggest pet peeve in sports are blown leads. When you blow a lead at halftime, after the third quarter, whatever. And as a Penn State fan, I'm used to this. So, a lot of blown leads. It frustrates me to no end. But the way Nick Sirianni handled that second half, running the football down that team's throat, using Miles Sanders, using Kenny Gainwell, and yeah, he got stopped on the 4th and 2. Okay, but Nick Sirianni controlled the clock that second half. The Falcons had the ball 11 minutes in that first quarter. The Eagles only had it 4. And the Eagles are lucky they scored on that first possession because it could have been ugly quick, at least early on. But the way he rested that defense up with a 15-6 lead and outscored them 17-0 in the second half, if the Eagles do that most of this year, they're going to win this division. They're going to win the NFC East because they can pound the football with anybody in this division. And really against any team in this league, you can run the football in the second half, you are going to win football games. Bottom line. And he did that with Miles Sanders, did that with Kenny Gainwell, used the short passes, used the screens. I love the way he executed that game in the second half, especially when it got to 15-6.
Yeah, you and I are on close to the same page there. You like the way the game finished. I like the game in its totality from a play calling standpoint because, yes, the Eagles got the ball back after giving up a field goal, went right down the field and got a touchdown. So right off the bat, the Eagles look good on a play calling aspect. I had no idea what kind of a play caller Nick Sirianni was because I understood he learned at the foot of Frank Reich, coming from the San Diego system first, and talked a lot about how the fact that they had different quarterbacks there than they did in Indianapolis, and they had to adjust to the different quarterbacks they had. He sang a pretty good song, and I thought he came off as a guy who understood what putting an offensive football team together was all about. But the actual playing of calls while the game is ongoing, that 40-second clock hits, and you got to have the right call with the right players on the field with the right designation and get it in quickly enough for the quarterback to implement it. There's an art to that. That is something that you have to do to be able to do over and over and over again and become accomplished at it. He looked like a guy who'd been calling plays for 4, 5, 6 years in the National Football League, not like a rookie wet behind the ears guy who had never done it before. He looked old hat at it. A big part of that is the relationship that he has with Jalen Hurts. He surely has talked about it enough. They show it on the sidelines. Bob Groats brought up the great point about the handshake that he has with Jalen Hurts. Yeah, there's a lot to say for the quarterback and the head coach, the play caller, being on the same page. All we have to do is turn back the page 1 year to Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz, when if there were two guys that weren't on the same page, it was the head coach of the Eagles and their starting quarterback last year. It was so refreshing to see the head coach and the quarterback in simpatico the way they were. But as good as Hurts was, I think I got to give a bigger nod to Nick Sirianni because at least Hurts did get a chance to play a little bit last year. His debut as a play caller for me, for Nick Sirianni, was A. That 4th and 2 call to Gainwell, roll the dice, that kind of blew up in his face. That keeps it from being an A+, but he was this close to being an A+ as far as a grade goes for play calling game one in the Nick Sirianni era.
Yeah, Nick Sirianni was phenomenal calling this game. And I'll say this, Joe, you talk about that relationship with Jalen Hurts. I'm telling you this, they've been practicing that since day one, since the day they traded Carson Wentz. And Jalen Hurts was going to be a starting quarterback. No matter what the Eagles said or what the front office was trying to do, Nick Sirianni worked with this guy and said, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. He ran, and this is what I love, guys that start at Division III, Division II, come from those backgrounds. Division III has been running hurry-up offenses for about 20, 25 years. Mount Union is one of those schools that's been doing it for a very, very long time. And Nick Sirianni picked that up. You know, he was under Mike McCoy, and who, by the way, is kind of with I guess he's kind of with the Eagles. I don't know his exact role, but, you know, Mike McCoy, he did that in San Diego, and then, you know, going with Frank Reich, and, you know, Shane Steichen did it last year, you know, under Anthony Lynn with Justin Herbert. It was just a combination of things. And I think that's football now. It's you're prepared for the game, way before the game. It's not, you know, you package this set of plays, and this is what we're going to run. No, you kind of prepared for week one 5-6 weeks ago. And I think that's what the Eagles did. I think they knew exactly how they were going to attack this football team. They had all offseason to prepare for that. And I mean, Nick Sirianni, that Eagles team was as prepared as an Eagles team I have seen in a game in a very, very long time. And, you know, offensively, defensively, everything was sharp with them. It's, you know, again, yeah, it's hard to give the guy anything lower than an A+. I mean, the 4th and 2 call was the only thing that blew up in his face, but overall, what a performance, what a debut for a head coach. You know, I hope it doesn't end up like Marion Campbell. I remember he had a great debut as a head coach too when I rewatched the Eagles game back back in the day. Marion Campbell ended up being god awful. I hope it doesn't go that route, but Nick Sirianni looks like he knows what the heck he's doing.
One of the things I enjoy doing, and I've been doing it on my show on the radio for years, first chance we get to do it here on Birds 365, is I like to look at the number of snaps that everybody played and read into it, try and take some meaning out of it. Let you and I do that for a couple of minutes here. On the offensive side, no great surprise that 6 players played every single snap. It's a really good thing. You don't see it often, but if no one gets hurt, it's nice when it happens. All 5 offensive linemen took every single snap yesterday, as did the quarterback Jalen Hurts. We remember back to 2017 when the Eagle offensive line was as healthy as it was. All of them started all of the games together. I know it's only one game, but not only is it one game, it's one game and every snap is a unit. I know you don't usually shuttle guys in and give guys breaks, but there wasn't an Eagle offensive lineman that came off the field for one snap yesterday. That's a real good sign, Jeff Kerr.
Yeah, it's a very good sign. And, that's what I didn't really get a chance to look at all snap counts yet. That's something I'm going to do with the second we get off this show. But, yeah, overall with the snap counts, again, I'd love to see the whole balance of J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, Quez Watkins, Greg Ward. Did he play that much, Jody?
He did not. He played all of 16 snaps, 11 of which he played on special teams. So from line of scrimmage, only 5 snaps yesterday. As a matter of fact, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside played the same number of snaps that he did.
Oh, how about that? So that's still 5 more than Boston Scott. So you got to give him credit there. But overall, I think that was the most we kind of talked about this earlier. That was the most surprising revelation to me. Like, Boston Scott wasn't even anywhere near the field, at least, on offense. It was, okay, so what are they going to do with this guy? I thought he was going to be number 2 back, but, as McMullen pointed out earlier, Kenny Gainwell in those Jets joint practices in that game, I think that showed him enough. Like, he was going to be number 2. I liked how basically the offensive line was pretty much cohesive the entire game. Same with Fletcher Cox. Did Fletcher Cox end up playing did he play every snap?
He did not. Well, Fletcher plays because they used the shuttling in and out of the defensive tackles. He played 57% of the snaps on defense.
That's actually really good for them. I know they rotate, but it felt like Fletcher Cox was in almost every play. I got to rewatch the game, but from what to my understanding, he was going to play about 75-80% of the snaps this year. So the fact that he only played 57%, that's going to be great for a 17-game season.
The guys who played 100% on defense were Steven Nelson, every single snap. Darius Slay did come out for a couple of snaps. They had 72 on defense. Slay only played 70, but Nelson played every single snap, as did Anthony Harris, the other safety, which makes sense because Marcus Epps went out. They might have rotated Kayvon Wallace in and give him a shot in Harris's spot as well, but they couldn't do that because Epps was out, which means they leaned on Harris to play every single snap. Here was my grade of Anthony Harris game 1. I didn't notice him, and I'm okay with that because there's one of 2 ways it goes. You notice a guy because he's making plays, or you notice a guy because he's giving up big plays. I don't remember any negative plays for Harris yesterday. I don't remember any splash or big-time plays either. He got in and out of the game, playing every single snap without anybody questioning the things that he did. I thought it was a pretty good game for Harris's first game in an Eagle uniform.
Yeah, I think so too. And they needed someone to – I don't want to say he's going to be Malcolm Jenkins because they're completely different players, but they needed someone to kind of fill that coverage void of it. And I'm really excited to see what Rodney McLeod gets healthy, what him and Anthony Harris can do, because Anthony Harris, he had a load on his plate yesterday. Marcus Epps getting hurt. You might have had the cover for Kayvon Wallace at some point. I know he helped out in containing Calvin Ridley a bit. The parts of the game I rewatched, I thought he had an excellent game in coverage. Again, they really didn't have to stop the run because they didn't really run his way. It was more of they were attacking Eric Wilson and the linebackers more than Anthony Harris. But you're right, Jody. I didn't hear his name, good or bad. And when you're in the secondary, secondary and offensive line are the two. But when you don't hear their names, it's usually a pretty good thing.
A little bit surprised at the linebacker position. I thought that Singleton would be the guy who would be on the field most of the snaps. You can basically say that the base defense is a two-linebacker look because Avonte Maddox played a ton yesterday. Other teams, the Falcons, I think most teams are going to be in three wide receiver sets, so the Eagles are going to have three DBs on the field for most of the time. Wilson actually logged 85% of snaps at the linebacker and Singleton 60%. I still think Singleton is their best linebacker. Wilson may be more of the middle guy that you got to keep on the field. But I thought that Singleton would at least equal him, if not surpass him, for numbers of snaps. Again, Wilson, I saw Wilson miss a couple of tackles, as a matter of fact. I didn't see that from their starting safety, the two new defenders who came in from Minnesota. He didn't make any big plays. He did miss a couple as far as I was concerned, but the Eagles had faith. They kept him out there 85% of the snaps.
And I think they had to because Eric Wilson's strength is pass coverage, and that's what he was known for in Minnesota. He definitely was not a good run stopper. He definitely is not a good tackler. But I think when that game got out of hand, you knew the Falcons were going to throw the ball, and that's where you play the Eric Wilson strength. He can pretty much cover a guy like a Kyle Pitts, or he can cover tight ends like Hayden Hurst, whoever it will be. And the Falcons did do a couple two tight end sets there. I'm surprised they didn't even go to Hayden Hurst as much. But again, it's hard to do that when you're getting pressure right up the middle from the Eagles' defensive line. So, yeah, I wasn't surprised Eric Wilson played as much as he did. Singleton, I think you're going to see him a little more next week because he is a guy that finds the ball carrier, and you're going to need that against a 49ers team that's going to throw. I don't know if Raheem Mostert's going to play. It looks like he got hurt again. I know he left the game, but you still have Elijah Williams, who came out of nowhere yesterday. Trey Sermon, the surprising active. I think Kyle Shanahan will use him. Jermichael Hasty, Jeff Wilson. I mean, you just got guys across the board there. So you're going to need Alex Singleton there. I think you'll see Eric Wilson snaps dip a bit next week just because it's not good against the run.
Right. And the other linebacker again. And we're nitpicking. We know the Eagles wanted a blowout. I don't want to come off as negative Nellies. But I questioned him during the preseason, and I still don't love him at the position. They're trying to change his position from defensive end to a linebacker. Jannard Avery just doesn't bring enough when he's on the field to me. He's not a playmaker. He's not a guy who is in the right place at the right time. I know they still have some confidence and some faith in him, and he played a goodly amount yesterday, but I don't know what Jannard Avery is going to be able to bring to this defense over the course of all 17 games.
Yeah, I think overall, like that Sam linebacker position, I think that's a way to get Ryan Kerrigan in as an extra pass rusher personally. And, Jannard Avery, I'm trying to remember, I think it was the first quarter, maybe the first drive, he completely whiffed on a tackle or something like that. He looked bad. I think if there was an NFL blooper reel, he'd be on it. But, yeah, I'm not sure what to make of him either. I like the guy. I think that the guy does have promise. Obviously, with that 49ers game last year, he broke out, and, so at least he can do something. But, yeah, overall, I think he's a good depth linebacker, especially how they want to use him. But I just think it's more of we gave up a fourth-round pick for this guy. We don't want to get rid of him yet because the guy has shown flashes. He does have some potential, but I ultimately think that Sam linebacker spot is for a Ryan Kerrigan more than him.
Yeah, he made one more tackle than you and I yesterday. So, and you're right, he played well in that game. Who are they playing this week again?
San Francisco 49ers.
What game did you think he played well in last year?
San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, okay, so maybe he's a 49er killer. We'll see. I tend to doubt it, but should be a fun upcoming game. You mentioned all the things that the 49ers do on offense that the Eagles are going to have to deal with. I think Sermon is going to play this week, depending on the health of their starting back, which we won't know about till later on in this week. The 49er defense against the Lions was very good early. They did let them back into the game. We know they've got the ability with Bosa to get to the quarterback, but what kind of game plan? No, we're still 6 days away, but we're going to start to look ahead. We always do as soon as you put one in the books, be it a win or a loss. Thankfully, this one was a win. How do you think the Eagles defense matches up against, how do you think the Eagles offense is going to be able to move the ball against that San Francisco defense?
Well, Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, you're up this week because the 49ers, where it was Robert Saleh or D'Amico Ryans now, our old friend D'Amico Ryans is their defensive coordinator now, they cannot cover a tight end. It's really weird because Fred Warner's on their team. But TJ Hockenson went off yesterday. TJ Hockenson is one of the more underrated tight ends in football. But Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz can really go off against this team. I would expect a little bit more 12 personnel this week if Zach Ertz is able to go. It looks like he will be. But Jalen Hurts is going to have opportunities to get them the football and allow them to get yards after the catch, because that's what Hockenson did yesterday. When the Eagles go in the red zone, I would definitely go to those two, because that's how you beat the 49ers pass rush. They're going to get to you. But the Eagles have two things that can contain them. Get rid of the ball quick to your tight ends and let them make big plays down the field or, off a 10-yard pass, which they have. Oh, and they got a mobile quarterback that can run away from Nick Bosa, from Eric Armstead, from D Ford and all those guys. So, that's the thing. I think the Lions showed me yesterday. You can score some points off the 49ers. I know it looked like a blowout early, but Dan Campbell, that team plays for him. Everybody wants to make fun of Dan Campbell and the kneecaps and the Lion thing, but I said this all season, I'm like, they may be bad, but they're going to play for this guy. And they definitely played for Dan Campbell yesterday. They didn't give up. They almost had a chance to pull off a monumental upset. And I know it was the long shot of long shots, but if you're the Lions, really the Lions are bad because their defense stinks. So 7 straight games giving up 30-plus points. I don't see the Eagles giving up 30 points to the 49ers. I know the 49ers offense is good, but you can keep that game in the 20s. They have a shot.
And who would have thought that Fred Warner's big play was going to come on recovering an onside kick at the end of the game? Greg Kittle couldn't come up with it, and that's why the Lions got a chance to make it a one-score game. Fred Warner was the guy who did eventually corral that final onside kick and end the game and put it in the W column for the 49ers. One last question for you, Jeff. Jeff Lurie was the guy who decided at the end of the game he was going to give the game ball, present the game ball to Nick Sirianni, which could have been looked at as a little self-serving because he, of course, was the guy who hired Nick Sirianni. He was the guy who fired Doug Peterson. And, yeah, for one game, the new era has started in a very bright way with their win over the Falcons. Although I want to nitpick it, I can't. Sirianni was just that good. He deserved the game ball. As good as Hurts was, great debut by Devonta Smith. Defense, after being shredded the first 2 possessions, completely shut down afterwards. I thought Sirianni deserved the game ball. How about you?
That's his first win as an NFL head coach. You better get the game ball, Jody. What a performance by Nick Sirianni. I remember seeing the head coach rankings this year. We did them at CBS Sports, and everybody was like, Arthur Smith was one of the best hires. And, I like the Robert Saleh hire a lot. But it was like Nick Sirianni and Dan Campbell and David Culley were the head scratchers. And the Lions played really well yesterday against a really good 49er team. David Culley got a win. I know it was the Jaguars. It wins a win. Some people thought Texans were going 0-17. I am at 1-16, beating the Jaguars 1-2. Not week 1, but Nick Sirianni, he outclassed Arthur Smith. You're a Falcons fan on a Monday morning right now. You're calling into whoever, Kincaid's old show. I think the Buck show or whatever it is now. And you're venting because that looked absolutely atrocious, Arthur Smith. So Nick Sirianni really looked like he was the guy on him. It looked like a home run hire after the first game. You got to give the game ball to Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, I would say the Falcons are going to be a team when the season's over and done with. We look back and go, yeah, so what? They beat the Falcons. I don't think they're going to be very good, but nobody was throwing bouquets the Eagles' way before the season started. And, oh, by the way, a win on the road.
Tony Romo did. That's what he told me. So.
Yeah, how high did he set that bar? I know he did say, you're right. I remember we talked about it here on Birds 365 that one individual and one group that he put the bar up pretty high for, which I thought was actually a little bit much, was the Jets rookie starting quarterback, Zach Wilson, saying he reminds him of Mahomes. He hadn't played a game in the league yet. He reminded him of Mahomes and could quickly play himself into a top 3 to 5 quarterback in the league. Nothing like setting the bar this high, Tony. Thanks. And he did with the Eagles, too, that a lot of people were underrating and underranking him coming in. What was his number with the Eagles? Do you remember?
10-11 wins. So I got a funny story about that. I got to interview him twice for the season, and it was in back-to-back weeks. And the first was on a conference call for a bunch of reporters for CBS, but I'm allowed to get a question, and obviously because we work for the same company. Then I got my one-on-one with him, and I said, "You remember how many wins you picked them for?" And I said 10 or 11. He goes, "I didn't pick them, did I?" And I showed him the quote, and he's like, "Oh God!" I'm like, and he's like, "You know what? Yeah, I actually do think I can win 10 or 11 games." And he said, because their offensive line is just as good as that. He asked me, he goes, "What do you think about their offensive line?" I said, "I think they're one of the best in football." He goes, "See, I agree with you. I do too. I think that, Brandon Brooks coming back was going to be huge for them, and he loves their defensive line." He said, "They got Fletcher Cox on their defensive line. That means they're pretty good." So he thinks football is won in the trenches. He said, "That's how I thought we had a good team in 2007 with Dallas, because we were good in the trenches until the end of the season, and then everything kind of fell apart." But he said, as long as they got that, he said, Jalen Hurts is a golden opportunity here. And he said, I wouldn't bet against that kid either, and he thinks Nick Sirianni is a really, really good football coach. He said, from what I've heard about him, what I've seen with him in San Diego and Indianapolis, he said, the Eagles made the right hire. He said, they're going to surprise some people this year, he said, and especially in that division. He's high on them. He said, I would not be shocked if they won 10 or 11 games.
The key to the Eagles' offensive line, of course, is health. And let me just repeat this one more time. 71 offensive snaps yesterday. Jalen Hurts took all 71, as did Isaac Seumalo, Jordan Mailata, Lane Johnson, Brandon Brooks, and Isaac Seumalo. Every single offensive lineman took every single snap, which means we're 1 for 1 on health of the Eagles' offensive line. 16 more games to go, but they are 1 for 1 for complete health. So maybe Tony Romo is on to something. All right, JK, we'd be out of time. Good job as always when we call on you out of the pen. You do the job for us. Thank you for that. We'll try and get you on later in the week, buddy. Thanks for doing it with us today.
Oh, sounds great, Joey. It's always great to be on the Victory Monday, isn't it?
Yes, it is. 1 down, 16 to go. Looking forward to being here with you guys every single week after the Eagles game. Hopefully enough Eagle wins here on Birds 365.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the memories. Go for the view that goes on forever. Go for the bubbles in your bathtub and in your drink. Go to bed whenever you want. Or don't. Go for him. Go for her. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Hey everybody, this is Krause of the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Thanks for watching this video. And before we do anything else, make sure you watch, like, and subscribe to the JAKIB Media YouTube channel and leave a comment below that you are subscribed. This video is all about our big 2021 season ticket holder giveaway. That's right, we're giving away a pair of Eagles season tickets for the entire season. You'll go to all 8 games at the link. Now, here are the rules. Remember, first, like, share, and subscribe. Let us know below that you have subscribed to the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. You must follow all of the rules leading up to our giveaway, which will take place on Friday, September 17th. More on that in a moment. You must confirm in the description of this video that you are subscribed. And on Friday night, September 17th, starting at 7 p.m., when we'll do a live broadcast right here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, you must be present on that Friday night. Again, a pair of Eagles season tickets for the 2021 season. You're going to absolutely, absolutely love it. Why is JAKIB Media giving away a pair of Eagles season tickets? On behalf of all of our subscribers, our new subscribers, and those subscribers who have been with us from the very beginning, this is our way of saying thank you. But wait, there's more. Thursday night on September 16th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Screwballs in King of Prussia. So if you're from the Philadelphia region, get to Screwballs in King of Prussia. 5 pairs of opening tickets for the game against San Francisco. Eagles jerseys, giveaways, bus trip details, all kinds of great stuff coming out. And oh, by the way, we're going to begin registering for our trip to Las Vegas when the Eagles go in to Vegas to play the Raiders. All of this compliments and courtesy of JAKIB Media Sports.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.